Hello, America. Hello, world. Hello, YouTube. Hello, the red brick people. Um, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to mirror this video from this cat named Josh, and I have a link below in the description box um, of you know the video. So at the end of his video, I'm going to answer a question that he has that he don't know, that I know is the absolute gospel truth. So check it out, folks, and red bricks to all you. So I'm going to play this video entitled "Everything is a Lie." Okay, the World Sphere and Ancient Structures. And many people did stuff on the World Sphere, but no one's talking about why. Why did this go down? So maybe some are, but here we go. Chicago, 1893. And thank you, Josh, for this video. And I hope I help get this video out so more people can view it. It had 2,993 views. He posted it December 8th, 2020. 112 thumbs up and 6 dumb thumb asses thumbed it down. So nobody should have thumbed it down. The people who thumb it down are the ones in the game hiding this shit still on us. So here comes the video.
Welcome to Chicago, the gem of the prairie. It was but a score and 2 years ago that the fiend fire laid waste to this great metropolis. And yet, like the mythical phoenix, it rose up from the embers to become the second largest city in the country.
Everything's a lie. A lie, a lie, a lie. Everything's a lie. A lie, a lie, a lie.
Are we really to believe that this building was created only for the World's Fair? I mean, did we really have that much money to throw around to build glory in this fashion only to tear it down after a World's Fair? Unbelievable. And now we're going to research the Chicago World's Fair here a bit. And it was held in 1893 to celebrate the 400th anniversary of Christopher Columbus's arrival to the New World. The effort to power the fair with electricity, which became a demonstration piece for Westinghouse, had been developing for many years. It was called the War of the Currents between DC and AC. This was also the first time that power would be displayed for mankind. And this was a fight between Edison and Tesla would eventually win this contract. Now here is a look at what they called the White City. Now apparently this was constructed, once again, a few years for the World's Fair. Now if this isn't the hokiest story I think I've ever heard in my life, then I don't know what is. If this looks like this was something that was built within a few years for the World's Fair in Chicago and then torn down, then there's no limit to what we could be force-fed. Once again, we really have to be logical here. Now, if we didn't know that this was in Chicago, we certainly might think this was in Europe. And to imagine that something like this would be built for a fair, when in present times this would probably take years to construct. Years. And again, we're to believe that they had the resources to build something like this, only to level it. And this is one of many hundreds of buildings that were apparently built for this World's Fair, only to be torn down. And they call this the agricultural building. Now, does this seem like the agricultural building or some kind of Greek Roman building in any part of the world but America? But no, this was apparently just thrown up only to be destroyed, just for an event. We now use tents and portable such things for events. Now, back then, white marble stone was just fine for temporary usage. Now again, the great Ferris wheel that they boasted, and again, the beginning of electricity. I mean, look at these electric things they're displaying. It's some kind of energy conducting mechanism. We don't even know, but apparently that was something that you could display in the late 1800s at the World's Fair. These may have been Tesla's displays. It was the first time he would introduce his motors to the world. And again, fully lit up, late 1800s. But again, was this infrastructure already here? Or was this really built
Was already
for a
here.
single event? A temporary
Doesn't
event.
take that much to figure out there,
And
John.
Ferris wheel,
Think
pretty
about it,
interesting
dude.
Ferris wheel. Pretty amazing, actually. A true monster. Just like everything back then was glorious. Well, so is this Ferris wheel. Look at this. A little apartment. Each cabin is the size of a studio apartment. Amazing. And again, ask yourself, could this have been built for one short little event? This kind of detail and how identical it looks to what we find all over the world. Notice how there's no ships. And here again is a view of this 600 acres of buildings that they supposedly built only to tear down. No. The plan is to tear this down and to have one last little hoorah and take credit for all of this glory. Now look at the crowd here. I mean, this looks like Disneyland. Now, I'll be honest, I don't know if this one is made of stone. This may be a cheap replica, I'm not sure. But the one in the back certainly isn't. No. This was not built for the World's Fair back here. And again, looking north between mines and electricity buildings. So that's really interesting. Who is this source? Friedman Fine Arts. So very interesting, actually. That Friedman Fine Arts should call these electricity buildings. And that's exactly what we're coming to realize that they are now. And again, look at this. I mean, if this was not the most glorious city, and again, I want you to recall the story that I told just moments ago about these designers of the World's Fair and how they were imagining the perfect city. And this is, what they designed. I don't think so. This was a perfect city. And we waltz in here, have a World's Fair, have a big party, and we destroy it. And leave only a few buildings. And many buildings have been preserved in Chicago, very fortunately. But out of these 200, very few remain.
Excerpt from the Shoots guidebook, also known as Wikipedia, just relating to the World's Columbian Exposition, also known as the Chicago World's Fair of 1893. So, the World's Fair, held in 1893 to celebrate the 400th anniversary of Christopher Columbus's arrival in the New World in 1492. The centerpiece of the fair was the large water pool represented the long voyage Columbus took to the New World. Chicago had won the right to host the fair over several other cities, including New York, New York City, Washington D.C., and St. Louis. The exposition was an influential social and cultural event and had a profound effect on architecture, sanitation, the arts, Chicago's self-image, and the American industrial optimism. So let's take a bit of a closer look at some of these amazing buildings. In particular, seen here is the Manufacturing and Liberal Arts Building. So this building in 1893 was actually the largest building in the world, and a massive feat considering it was only built in 18 months. Put together with, so they say, wood, steel, and a putty, sort of a mix of concrete and white plaster, turned into something they called staff, resembling marble once it's sprayed white. Not only to mention that to create this effect of marble in such a short space, obviously they say they couldn't harvest this sort of marble and resources, so they invented the spray paint machine. And this is where it all began. They painted this whole site, known as the White City, with white spray paint. And this was the first time spray paint was seen anywhere in the world. Now, when the building was finished construction in October 1892, 100,000 people attended the opening ceremony. And the promoters actually said that they could fit 300,000 people with 6 square feet of elbow space, or around 1.5 meters social distancing in today's terms, which is just an incredible feat. The noise of that many people under one roof would just be incredible. I don't think they heard anything going on in the ceremony, but definitely an amazing thing to be a part of back then. So we'll just go over a couple of the specifications. This building was 1,687 feet by 787 feet. The roof reached 245 feet into the sky. The building was supported by 8 100-foot pavilions at the corner and center of each wall. So they say you could fit the Great Pyramid of Giza within this building, which for a building that was constructed in less than 2 years and only for 6 months, as the fair only ran for 6 months, that seems really wasteful and something that we just would not do today. I mean, that's an unimaginable scale. We don't even know how they built the pyramids today, let alone to build a garage for it is just absurd. Seen here behind the Statue of the Republic was the peristyle. Such a truly magnificent structure. Definitely would not look out of place in Rome, in the Vatican City. So the peristyle was a Roman-style colonnade with double rows of 48 columns on either side, facing Lake Michigan. This is where people would enter if they came via water, as it was a bridge underneath the arch there. So supporting that roof was adorned with intricate statues, and they say that these statues were supported by cables. And just looking at this particular image right now, I don't see any cables, yet apparently they're there. And just looking at this next photo here, the cables are clearly visible, but to me they just don't look real. That looks photoshopped to me. Considering we couldn't see them in the last photo, and then here they are, and the contrast between the statues and the cables just doesn't look right to me. But I'm not a professional. I'm going to have to ask my photographer friend to see what she reckons. So, besides that, the colonnade met in a massive arch in the middle, resembling the Arc de Triomphe. And it housed on top was a group of horses, statues of horses pulling a wagon, and they say symbolizing explorers. Okay, they say so. Moving on to another expo at this World's Columbian Exposition was the State Buildings Expo. Here, seen looking like a city on its own, yet just an expo, complete with mud flooders from every state, in my opinion. So they say that it was utilized to show off major resources of each state. The promotion of resources at the fair was intended to create new channels of trade and display goods to new potential markets. And we'll go over a few. Seen here, the Wisconsin building, looking just like a mud flutter. Move on to the Texas building. Different, but the same, in my opinion. Clearly the arches and the spires all showing. So moving on here, we have the Pennsylvania, looking very Tartarian, in my opinion. Clearly an old mud flutter, ornate and intricate. This is the main building, so looking like a European castle, if you ask me. And lastly, showing the California State Building, to me just looks like something out of Turkey in Istanbul. All of them resembling old mud flutters like this guy right here. And clearly the influence of these buildings found all over the world impacted the promoters, supposedly, to build these state buildings, even though not for a second do I believe that story. In my opinion, it's all lies, and these buildings were here prior to these promoters taking advantage of this site. Okay, so moving on to the amusement park portion of the World's Fair. Seeing here the famous Ferris wheel of the Chicago World's Fair 1893. And to put it in perspective, here we see Ferris wheel in the same city in 1995. So on the left, 1893, 100 years before, and 100 feet taller. I mean, we really are going backwards in time. I don't see any reason why we would build smaller, and I'm sure we're going to be told for safety reasons, but there's a lot of things we can't explain about these buildings, and we have an excuse for all of them. Coming to the end here of my presentation, thanks for sticking around if you're still here. If you've liked what you've seen, a like would be much appreciated. And just moving on now to the last building I'm going to cover, which is the transportation building. Now this thing not white like the rest of this white city. It was painted, they say, red, blue and purple, like all different colours, with a golden arch and golden door there in the centre, and just a truly grand structure. Now this was the work of Louis Sullivan, and has all the bells and whistles of architectural training, travelling to Europe and through Paris with all the architects there, of course, and has to drop past Paris when they're dropping buildings like that constantly. And the reason I say constantly is, let's just have a look at a period in this gentleman's life around the same time as the 1893 World's Fair. Now, I'm not an architect, and I don't know how many jobs an architect would take on at a time, but looking at the transportation building, that seems like a lot of work. And that was around 1891. Now, let's have a look at what he was doing at the same time. The Prudential building in 1891. That was finished in 1894. Here we have the Charlotte Dixon Wainwright tomb, which was from 89 to 1892. So that took him 3 years, and it's just a tomb. We go on, we've got the Guarantee Building, 1894, again, started in 1891. James Charlie House, finished in 1892. The McVickers Theatre, which he finished in 1891, so literally finished the McVickers and carried on to the World's Fair, and also the New Orleans Station, which was finished in 1891 I should say, and that was demolished in 1954. Now that seems like a lot of work to take on at the same time. I don't know how he would have accomplished that with such intricate structures. Nothing like this has been seen in Chicago prior, so it just feels like they or them find a name along history and just stick a bunch of buildings to the name and assume that no one will look into it. And perhaps I'm wrong and I've overlooked something, but it just seems that way. And considering how much he had going on at the same time, it just seems a little bit far-fetched.
Hi, this is Jack Stanley, and I'm here at the location of the 1893 World's Fair. Actually, I'm at the Great Lagoon here. If you look behind me, nothing but water. It was once part of this whole setup called the Chicago World's Fair. It was amazing, this place. It was called the Great White City, actually, because of all the buildings that were built here. Right here, I'm at the bottom of the steps of what once was the Palace of Fine Arts. And you will see, as you look around here, the massive structure that was once filled with all pieces of art. Today, it's the Museum of Science and Industry here in Chicago. And it's a very, very distant part of the history it once had. You know, if you can just use your imagination and look out into the water here and imagine the massive buildings here and the Ferris wheel and thousands of people wandering around 122 years ago. Now, of course, this structure was rebuilt. And you know, it's interesting. I was here 25 years ago. In those days, well, there was no internet. I had my camera with film, and I took pictures. That's all I could do. Today, I can come back here, these 25 years later, and talk about this place. And I want to go take a walk over to where I once stood a quarter century ago and take a few looks at this building and at the site of the World's Fair.
Everything's a lie. A lie, a lie, a lie. Everything's a lie. A lie, a lie, a lie. Searching for things we'll never find. Rolling inside us in the dark. Nothing to say for us to see, so everything's alive. The world is turning on its side. When we went down on the side. Now I know what to believe, and everything's alive. Everything's alive. A lie, a lie, a lie. Everything's alive. Nothing's ever as it seems. Nothing's ever as it seems. When everything's alive.
Many buildings used today could have been built by another oldish civilization and were adopted or stolen, then repaired. What are some of these buildings? The White House, the Salt Lake Temple, the US state capitals, many of the St. Petersburg's buildings in Russia, and the Bund area in Shanghai, China. Just to name a few, however, what exactly isn't inherited does vary from theorist to theorist. So why is this believed? The main oddity pushing forward this theory is how many of these buildings seem to be sunken into the ground. Let's look at the Salt Lake Temple. It's a great big building in Utah of the United States and is said to have started construction from 1847 to 1893. This place had some touch-ups for the surrounding ground of the temple in 1963, revealing a lot of structure underneath the building. It looks to continue, maybe even having another entranceway. The windows also seem to continue and perhaps were originally meant to be used as such. Once the touch-ups finished, the area was buried back again. Let's look at some of the buildings in St. Petersburg. St. Petersburg of Russia was founded during 1703 and named after Peter the Great. Many of these buildings do look to cut things off into the ground, like potential window holes or entrances. These ground-level designs seem strange nonetheless. This is where the term mud flood comes in, as this is a theory of what happened to these buildings. Worldwide structures being flooded and buried during the Middle Ages. The general idea being around 1600 AD. Could have been a cataclysm or a result of war, but nonetheless imply these buildings were made before it happened, which would go against the official construction dates of these buildings. Perhaps these dates could be the repair dates? Here are some images of Salt Lake Temple during construction. There is evidence of the construction, however, it does not mean it was 100% built from the ground up. This allows history to say it was under construction during these times, while not having to say the whole story. This is an interesting photo of the construction of the Iowa state capitol in 1884. A point I've seen being made is that this area was not cleared before beginning the construction of the building. It's surrounded by trees and is generally leveled badly. The clearing was done after its creation. So I feel as though I should begin to talk about the branch theory of this. When searching about the mud flood theory, you may have also come across the term Tartaria. It is difficult to ascertain exactly what Tartaria is. According to Wikipedia, it is a region or multiple regions in Asia that represent unknown areas by Europeans. Meanwhile, in the Encyclopedia Britannica, Volume 3 of 1771, it explains Tartaria as a vast country in the northern parts of Asia. A British 1783 table of flags showed Tartaria, or Tartary in this case, as one of the flags. The theory is that this civilization was much bigger than thought and could have existed for hundreds of years. The inherited buildings buried under the mudfloods is attributed to this civilization, and in extension is believed to have been worldwide. Tartaria would have been conquered maybe little by little and slowly whittled down, then afterwards would have been erased by history, the ruins being inherited and repaired to the towns and buildings seen now. The motive for this is difficult to say, but it could have had to do with propaganda during the wars, and history just stuck with it.
Okay, did you hear that, folks? At the end, he says he didn't know why. Okay, well, I'm here to tell you why. The elect tricked us out the city. Look at the word itself. Words are spells. Electricity. The elect tricked us out the cities. Okay, there it is, folks. There it is, Josh. Now you know. They tricked us. I think you know, but you're hesitant to say, perhaps. Anyway, great video. First time I listened to it, I was not paying attention to one part of it. I didn't even know that John was in it, and that's funny too. So the audio on your end was a little bit, really soft there, Josh, and I don't know if people are going to be able to hear this, after I mirrored it. So, but there it is. I'll leave a link there and good video, and hopefully it drives some more people to you. You could tell the truth to them and dig some more up. These energy vampires are the ones that tricked us out the city. The elect tricked us all. Now, earlier when I first started this broadcast, we had someone jump up there, and I do things with MAC addresses, so I know who that was. But anyway, kind of breaks my heart that people are so who consider themselves truthers have become so fake. So many truthers are out there aren't truthers, So it's hard to get unity in regard to what we as humans need to do to get these people who've been doing this to us for so long. The World's Fairs, example upon example upon example, the nonsense they did all over the world. Smithsonian Institute, Wikipedia, although they give you a false narrative and lies because that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to hide their lies. So there it is. Nobody showed up. We've seen some stuff there. So just remember this. Remember this, folks, that these freaks do this to us all the time, okay? And there it is. 1918, San Francisco, okay? Another World's Fair, glorious buildings everywhere. And there's your Freemason, scumbag, compartmentalized losers. The same group all over the world doing nothing about a bunch of people wanting to inject children and sending them to school with masks. See all those dumbasses with masks on? Because they're dumbasses. They hire really undereducated people to have that kind of job. In the early days, it was big thug dumbasses, see? And that's who did that for a little wage to help trick people out the city. So no, that's the history of the police in America and the world. They are no good. They think they're doing good because they're compartmentalized and they're brainwashed humans. It's up to us to start waking up these dumbasses. So they're the ones that are liars, tricksters, and they are traitors to God, traitors to country, traitors to everything. So we need to continue to pray and collaborate and not cause division in the ranks of truthers. And we need to pick those truthers who are fake truthers and we need to stop. We start blocking them. We need to. Some of these fake truthers have 100,000 people following them. So fake truthers are tricking other people into more nonsense just to cause the division, not to show them the real truth of what was behind and what they're doing. Okay? The arc, energy, they meter you. They meter you to death. What's going on now today, folks? Wake up and start thinking. You got a parasitical person named Bill Gates, and he is a parasite. If you ain't figured that out yet, that he can't keep a virus off a computer. His family lineage has been in this game for a long time, and they just hand him a suit. Elvis took a polio injection live on Bill Gates' first birthday. That was planned because they're Planned Parenthood. They're the losers that want to kill people. They're the losers who have a Georgia Guidestones up to say that they want to kill so many people. Only 550 million people will be there left on this earth. See there? You need to wake up, America. Wake up, world. I didn't have no viewers. One popped in, one popped out. I'm gonna check my my server and see who that was again. If it's a new MAC address or somebody who already been here and visited me and not saying nothing. And you should not be rude and say hello at least. Say hello. Can you say hello? Huh? Can you say hello? Oh man, I typoed big time. My fat fingers. Can you say hello there? Come on now. Who is it? Do I have to check who it is? No, man. That always sucks when I have to do more work. I say hello. I couldn't even spell hello right. Can you say hello? Huh? Anyway, I guess not. So that's about it then, I guess. So what I'm gonna do is end this stream and say don't let them trick you. I guess you couldn't say hello. I gotta go check who that was. So anyway, red bricks to all you. Don't let them trick you no more. Let's start getting together, getting all our minds together, and we can change this narrative. We can do it. You have to believe. Okay? So remember, the elect tricked us out the city. They use compartmentalized dumbasses like this to get their job done. So no, back the blue my ass, weld them in the cell, or wake them up. Many of them, I'm sure, are really good human beings, but they've just been tricked. They're just dumbed down. They need to be, slapped in the face and wake up, you dumbass. See what I mean? So hope some of these dumbasses start waking up. Red bricks to everybody. And whoever showed up and couldn't even say hello, you're a coward. You're a coward. You're not a red brick people. You're somebody else that you're confused. Maybe you just did too much drugs. I don't know what it is. But anyway, I'm going to do a video about the people who come visit, what their MAC addresses are, and who they really are. Start exposing some of these truthers. That's some of the videos I'm going to start making. I'm going to start exposing these fake truthers telling lies. So, and you'll notice that a lot of these truthers who are not real truthers, what they do is they tell you some truth just to cause division, to get more confusion, so you still can't see things clear. So there's a couple really good videos out there. A lot of really good truthers out there. So pay attention when you're out there looking around, because they're there to trick you some more. Know that. Red bricks to all of you. End the video. Now, what you need to do is turn off your TVs. Okay? So turn them off. Peace.